Good evening, everybody.
Evening.
Yolanda and Juliet, I'm glad to see both of you back with me this week. Some good posts and discussion boards this week. So this is a reminder to keep up with those. I had a question from not one of my students or one of my interns today. Um, I sent out an email, I think last week. Everybody understands when you put your final evidence narratives in task stream that you have to write summary and descriptors.
Correct.
Uh, if you don't, if somebody's listening that doesn't understand that, if you don't know what that is, um, you can go to our main board under intern materials, and I have two documents there that teach you basically what they look like and what you're supposed to do. So make sure that everybody understands. Excuse me, reach over for my water here. Make sure everybody understands that you got to do summary and descriptors when you do your final evidence narrative. All right, so I won't go through all that tonight because you folks already know that and have already done it, and so I won't waste your time. This week was week 3, the Achieve model, directive and controlling behaviors, as well as assistant principal interview if you chose to do that this week. So let me get out of that and go to new share and go back to desktop, share screen, and go back to our main screen here. All right, I've got a few things for us to look at tonight. First thing I want to look at is the role of the principal. And this is we covered this at 603. I know we covered all the things that I have tonight pretty much in 603, but I just want to remind you. Role of the principal under North Carolina General Statutes 115C 288. The legal responsibilities that you have. And the reason why I have that there tonight was these have to be directive behaviors. These aren't optional things. The hardest thing for emerging leaders, school administrators to understand is you can be creative at times. You can think outside of the box at times. But when it comes to the law, you have to follow the law, and you have to have your staff follow the law. You can't make it optional for them. Some things just can't be optional. And that's why I brought this back up tonight is the things on this list are not optional. Those are going to be directive behaviors. And teachers will try to argue with you. I don't want to do this, or why do we have to do that? Well, we have to follow the law. And so, as I've told you in the past, you basically have to define for your staff things that you have discretion over and things that you don't have discretion over. And that's when we talk about directive behaviors as a leader. Directive behaviors are associated with those legal things, those have-to kind of things that we don't have any option on. So when I hear folks say, well, directive behaviors are always bad, you should always give teachers a choice. I'm sorry, we can't always give teachers a choice. We can't always give ourselves choices. There are times when we have to do what the law says for us to do. And I won't spend a lot of time on this, but this is my primary example of why we have to have directive behaviors. We have to grade and classify pupils. Principal has to make the final call on that. We have to make reports to the superintendent and the local board, attendance, those kinds of things. Reporting daily attendance of pupils. As we talked about in 603, the state of North Carolina works on the modified accrual accounting system, which means you spend the money as a district, they reimburse you at the end of the month for that month. And they don't give you all the money per pupil up front. They divide into 10 monthly installments. And they only pay you for your average daily membership, not how many kids are enrolled. And so it's imperative that you make those accurate reports, your principal's monthly report, your PMR, which has your attendance on it, and your SAR, your school activity report, which reports how many kids are in each classes. Those aren't optional. You don't send in your PMR, your SAR, you won't get paid that month. It's just that simple. And it says right here, principal or supervisor who knowingly and willfully makes proceeds other than requisite pay, class 1 misdemeanor. It means you won't get paid, and the superintendent shall not approve the vouchers for pay of principals until the required monthly paperwork's in. So not only you won't get paid, you might get charged with a misdemeanor, which means you'll lose your license to practice. And so these directive behaviors, staying after teachers about reporting their attendance and those kinds of things, you have to do those things. Improve instruction and community fire drills. Now, one of the things that I found when I had to supervise this in Charlotte-Mecklenburg, and I've talked to you about this before, but schools would do their monthly fire drill. The teachers would have to have their class roll, and they'd all go out on the ball field, and everything would be good. The thing that I found that wasn't happening, however, was those twice a month safety inspections. And in 603, I gave you one of those assessment inventories that you need for your assistant principal and the head custodian to use that inventory twice a month and do those required inspections. That's not optional. Teachers don't like it, and when you involve them or assistant principal, it doesn't matter. It's duty to twice a month to inspect your buildings using that assessment inventory. Discipline students and assign duties to teachers regarding discipline. Again, teachers don't like it when you tell them they have to do after school duty, supervision schedule, or they have to duty roster during the day. They have to be in lunchroom, or they have to be on car duty or bus duty or hall duty. But those aren't optional things. Reporting acts to the superintendent and to law enforcement, crime that happened. I've had students tell me that their principal told them that they didn't, their copy of their school improvement plan and or their school budget, they didn't give those out. Yes, you do. The law says that you do. To evaluate certified employees and develop action plans. That's not optional. You have to do those. Those are directive things. You'll get pushback from your administrative team sometime, and certainly from teachers sometime. But directive behaviors are not all bad. When it comes to the law, you have to do those things. And a couple more things. Now, to the end where it says you will evaluate certified employees and develop action plans. I've got a document in here. I also covered this previously in a previous class. And it's called MTSS for Teachers. And it is what I would consider to be a legal requirement under 115C 288, that you have a plan of how you are going to deal with new teachers and low performing teachers, a process plan that you're going to put them on. The law says you have to have a plan and that you will put them through this process. They won't like it. But again, when it comes to the law, we can't be loosey-goosey. We have to have a plan. So here's my MTSS for teachers. This is what I consider to be a requirement that principals need to develop something like this that speaks to what are we going to do in terms of working with new teachers. What are we going to do in terms of working with teachers who aren't getting the results, who aren't being successful in the classroom? There has to be a plan that leads up to the action plan. You just can't go and say, well, you're not doing too good, we're going to put you on an action plan. You have to show legally that you had a process in place prior to putting a teacher on an action plan. Again, it's a directive behavior. And so you might want to review that again. Yours doesn't have to look like mine as a school principal. Better be close though, because this one follows the law. And this one, all beginning teachers get a one-on-one coach or mentor, and from day one of their initial year, their beginning year, and all teachers who are not doing well get a one-on-one coach 9 weeks into the year, and they have 9 weeks of coaching prior to ever being put on an action plan. You have to show that you've done something before the action plan. And then this one gives them 9 more weeks while they're on the plan. So they get 18 weeks of coaching prior to you making a decision about their continued employment. You better have something like this in place, and you better be able to show when you're challenged about why you're non-renewing this teacher, or you get sued, or you have to go to mediation. If you've got a plan like this and you can show that you have instituted this plan, again, it's a directive behavior, then you'll be fine legally. But if you don't, you won't. So again, it goes back to directive behaviors are not all bad. They generally fall in the category of things that you have to do according to the law or the local board policy, things that have to be done at your school in your district. And this is an example. I use this one as an example of the one that says that you will evaluate teachers and and put them on action plans. You must have a bigger plan than just, I'm going to put you on an action plan. But again, these are examples of directive behaviors and why we have to use them in administration. For some reason, we think that all directive behaviors are bad. They are not. They keep us legal and keep us in our job. I have a leadership style quiz here from Kurt Lewin. This is from Psychology Today. It may or may not open for me while I'm in Zoom. It's not really compatible with Zoom. It will open for you. Hey, it did. And this basically helps you determine whether your inclination is toward directive behaviors or not. Again, they're not always bad, but this will help you. What we're looking for is that you are a participative leader when you have the opportunity to be, when you have the option to be, and that's when something has not been legislated for you to do. You need to know what your proclivity is, and so you can take that leadership quiz and find out where you are. If I can get out of that now and get back to my Zoom session without it crashing on me. There it comes. 115C is, here is the link to all the state statutes that tell you what you have to be directive about. And then the last thing that I wanted to cover tonight is what makes a good principal. And this is part and parcel of what we covered last week. Just a reiteration of that. We covered this last week, but I want to bring that back again. What makes a good principal? The school is family. Teachers are treated as professionals. Instruction is data-driven. They're student-centered. They reach out to families. They have reservoir. They promote school spirit and teamwork. They develop leaders. They have good help. Again, some of these things are directive. Good leaders sometimes have to, as the example I've given tonight, have to use directive behaviors, but they use them only when they're legislated to. Their first initial reaction or instinct is not to always do directive behaviors, but only use those and reserve those for things that are legislated that they do. Other than that, they're very people-centered. They're non-directive. When they're given the opportunity, they're very much participative. Again, take that quiz and find out what your proclivity is or what your first instinct is, and hopefully through what you've learned in this program, you've learned that your first instinct should not be to directive behaviors. They should be more of a shared governance, shared leadership, but understanding that there are times when you do have to do those have-to kind of things. And so that's what this week was about. And again, I would suggest that you spend a little bit of time with North Carolina general statutes. Now, I know that there's 545 of them. Most of them don't apply, and they're categorical, so you can look at them. But there are more than just the duties and responsibilities of the principal that you should be familiar with. I would suggest 115C, 390, and 391 for discipline and exceptional children. I would suggest that you look over those. Again, you don't have any leeway on that stuff. Those are going to be directive behaviors for you and your staff. I would look specifically at those and some others there. And I think if you do that, you will begin to get an understanding of what we're trying to tell you is that directive behaviors should only be used when things are legislated that you have to do, and otherwise use them sparingly. And my final tonight, I'm keeping an eye on the time, is my story that I've told before, and I will tell again. It's relevant here. When I was a principal in Charlotte-Mecklenburg, before I went to the central office, and I would go to the monthly principals meeting, there'd be a huge stack of materials that would be waiting for me when I got to the principals meeting, as everybody else every month. And what I would do during the general session is I would sort it into 3 piles. And one of those piles wasn't the directive behavior pile. It was do it now, do it this way. And then one pile would be, we have discretion and some latitude as to how we do these things. And the third pile would be FYI kind of things. My suggestion to you is when you become an administrator and you go to the principal's meeting and they give you that stack of things, that you remember that you need to sort them into 3 things that you have to do, directive behaviors, a pile that are non-directive, and then a pile that's just FYI. And so what I would do then is when I would go back to the faculty meeting that week, and I would say, the first thing I would tell teachers is we're going to have 30 minutes. We'll do business for 30 minutes, and then we'll do new things. We'll do new agenda items. Old business, first half, new business. In the new business, I would tell them, all right, here are the things we have to do and we don't have any latitude to do. I'm just going to tell you now. I'm not going to, don't ask me, can we do it this way, or you got a better way, or, I appreciate that, but no, this is do it now, do it this way kind of thing. So that we can measure and have inter-rater reliability between schools. We got to do this way. And then I would introduce the things that we have some discretion to do in terms of when we do them and how we do them. But I would clearly delineate that for the faculty so that they would know, these are legislated things. That there's no option here. We need to do these things. And so if you will learn to do that throughout your leadership experience, you will always determine, is this something I have discretion over? Is this something I can allow teachers to have discretion over? Reporting incidents of crime and violence, you don't have discretion over that. Having a monthly fire drill, no discretion. Safety walkthroughs, things that you don't have any discretion over. Implementing new programs, sometimes you don't have any discretion over how you do those because they want to measure results and they want it done the same by everybody. But then there'll be things that you can do that are not legislated. But you should know the difference, and you should share that with your faculty and let them know. Don't make it a secret. Be very open. Again, participative leaders inform the followers. They don't keep secrets and hide information. Look, I'll just tell you up front, we got to do this. If you will make it your policy for all information that comes to bear in your school, if you will make it your policy to first read through it and determine, is this something that we can do on our own, or is this something that's legislated for us to do? And your behaviors will follow that. Will follow that, and your followers will be much happier, and they will appreciate that you tell them up front, and so that they won't spend a lot of time or waste a lot of effort and energy trying to come up with a different way to do things when in fact you don't have the latitude to do that. And that's kind of the thesis for me tonight on directive and controlling behaviors is make sure that you know and your staff knows which is which. And if you do that, again, that will help you to become a good principal. because you will be able to have that family orientation. You will be a servant leader. All those things that make good principals, you will have the opportunity to do those things. But you understanding, and your staff gets an understanding that you can't always do it that way. That sometimes we have to do directive behaviors. All right. Everybody doing okay on their classwork, your discussion boards? You only have to do one every week, one discussion board. Don't spend a lot of time on those discussion boards in terms of, don't write War and Peace. Discussion boards are designed to be an hour or less, somewhere between 30 and minutes and an hour. You got to do your reading, of course, but don't spend too much time. You should be to the point where we're 3 weeks in. You should at least have your CAP E in, and you should be close to having your PSYOP F into task stream. Make sure you drop those in your assignment Dropbox for me. Again, it's right here on our main menu. Make sure you drop those in there, and then knock out your final CAP and your final PSYOP if you haven't already done it. As I said earlier, if you don't know how to write summaries and descriptors that go with those final submissions of each of the 6 evidence artifacts, look under intern materials. I have 2 documents for you there. One is what they look like. It's called accomplished summaries and descriptors, and the other one is writing task stream summaries. You will find them under intern materials and or task stream tools. So if you need that help, I will be glad to provide that for you. Be sure to use your intern shell or use my class shell if you need help with any of your evidence artifact work. I'll be glad to give you feedback as quickly as I can.
I have a question about the final competency folio.
Yes.
How do we download that into task stream?
All right. That's a great question. Hopefully you can follow me on the screen here. All right, so let's see if I can get into task stream. It's sometimes easier to show you than tell you, or I'll do both at the same time. The task stream, here it comes. All right, when you log into task stream, there it goes. Let me see if I can go to a, okay. Now, for everybody that's listening, you know that when you hear under folios and web pages, when you get your 1 round of competencies uploaded, your proofs from communication down through visionary, you don't have to do professional dispositions, digital learning competencies, or a narrative. So when you get 1 proof in for all of these, and you have submitted them and you have requested comments, and your me or your clinical coach, either one, has told you that they're okay, you can select who you get comments from. It can be your clinical coach or from me. When I tell you that they're good, at that point you go back to your main DRF portfolio, and let's see what I've got here. I'm going to have to show you on 2 different screens here. All right. I'll bet this is going to turn it around on you. All right, let me go back to a different view here. Here we go. All right, so for spring 16, when you click here and you go here, all right. So when you go to your work page and you scroll down past your evidence artifacts, there's going to be a box that says Final Competency Folio. Are you with me, Juliet?
Yes.
All right, so when you click on that, now I'm going to have to switch to a different view to show you what happens when you click on that. Back to search.
Okay.
Okay, so when you click on that, I'm going to switch to a student view now. Oh, wait a minute. Go back one down. There we go. Come on. Come on. You can do it. All right. So yours is going to look like this. Okay, there's all your evidence, artifacts, components. All right. Click on Final Competency Folio. And as you can see, I've already uploaded one there. But let me show you how to do that. Go to the attachments, click on it. Come over here where it says add a new attachment, an artifact created in TaskStream, a lesson, a folio, etc. We want to upload a folio, so we click on it. Select category. It's going to be a web folio. And it's going to be our competency folio. Okay. And then add file. And there it is.
Right.
And then save and return. And then submit work. All right. So that's how. So is that clear enough, Julietta?
Yep.
All righty. Yay. Right, so that's how you do that. While I've got you here tonight, make sure that you've got all your dispositions done, all 6 of those. Make sure your site supervisor's doing their dispositions. If they don't have their username and password, email me. Your competency will be done by your clinical coach and by your site supervisor. Again, if your site supervisor has not done your competency and needs a username and password, let me know and I'll get them their username and password. You need to upload one log with at least 80 hours on it, and then you can submit it for evaluation. It's pass-fail. Hopefully you've got other logs from other semesters, but as long as you've got one from this semester, you should be good. It needs 80 hours on it. If you've got all those along with your evidence artifacts, and again, we talked when you go to that final submission, like for the CAP, it's going to ask you to complete this form, and that's where your summary and descriptors are. Right there they are. And you put your summary and descriptors in there. And if you don't know how to write summaries, now you can't write War and Peace now. You get a page and a half double spaced. For that's all you get. You get 10,000 characters per box, and it tells you that right there. So it's supposed to be a summary, not a reiteration of what you did. I've had that problem today. So make sure that you understand that it is a summary. Now, let's go back to here. I think it's under TaskStream Tools. Let's look and see off of our main menu. Writing TaskStream summaries and descriptors. I've got a document that will guide you in that, and I've got what they look like, an accomplished set of summaries and descriptors. So make sure that you get your summaries and descriptors done along with your final evidence narrative. Good question though, Juliet. All right, other questions? That's a great one.
Mine is regarding one of the artifacts, one of the components of which is submitted some time ago. I noticed that. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Okay, good. We had a Zoom session with our clinical supervisor this past Sunday, and I was asking him about OMA component E. It wasn't until I went on to task stream last week that I realized I was trying to go through to make sure I have all the components submitted and so forth with CAP E and SAP F. So, just to make sure I had everything there. And then that's when I realized that OMA had a part E. I think when we just got our the handbook, when we got a handbook with last spring when we started, there was never a part E for OMA. And even I'm going through like suggested timeline of submitting artifacts, and so there's no MA part E on there. And so my clinical coach said he would go ahead and he would find out whether or not this was required. And
it's required.
It is required.
I can't tell you enough times. It's required.
Right, but I'm saying it was not. It was when
it doesn't matter. I'm going to cut you off there. It doesn't matter if it was in the handbook or wasn't in the handbook. It's required. Right. And you're not going to, you're not going to finish unless you do it. So
no, definitely it's required. I'm just saying with all the others we've had exemplars or so. I'm just asking whether you are them.
But you're not on this one. So what you do is, what I have done to help you.
Right.
Again, not my call, but what I have done is if you go to your work page.
Right.
And I'll get there in just 1 second. If you will go to your work page. All right, author, work page for Mels 16. All right, if you'll do that, and you will click on OMAE. I've given you Dale's notes right here. All you have to do is write these things down. About 1.5 pages. That's all you have to do. There is no exemplar. There is no notes or whatever. This is the notes. This is the short version.
Okay.
You write 1 sentence or 2 for each of these and put your activities in here and you're done.
Right.
So if you did components A, B, C, and D, then this should take you about 30 minutes.
Okay.
And that's all you have to have in there. This is a summary component.
Right.
It was supposed to be, it was understood that this was going to be done in D, but it didn't get done in D, so they put E in to do this, so make sure that it got done.
Okay.
If you go back and you look at OMAD, this stuff was included in it, but it never got done. So that's why it was separated out individually. I don't like that format, but that's the folks that run task streams, so that was the only way they could do it. So we're kind of caught in that in between here in terms of what we write and what they translate and put in task stream sometimes is 2 different things.
Right.
So I don't mean to be blunt, but
all I was asking was you did address the exemplar part, and I know all the other parts there are descriptors that go with each.
Yeah.
I didn't know what descriptors went with this part.
Yep, you have to do it, and it's just a simple write this. There's no descriptors. They're in the first 4 components.
Okay.
And so if you do this one, then everything will be good. Good question, though. So for everybody, they were supposed to have you do this in 603. I think I mentioned it, or I know I mentioned it in 603. Yeah. So we need to make sure that we've got this. This went along with that work. There is no descriptors or review or any of that goes with it. There's no peer review. There's no descriptors. There's none of that. This is just summarizing what you did in D. And the reason why this was added is folks weren't summarizing D. And so we went back and added this, but it should have been added to D, but they said they couldn't add it to D, so they had to add another section here. So
thank you. That now makes sense. Like I said, because we were told not to do it, so that's the only reason it was not.
No, you got to do it. I don't want to tell you not to. But no, you got to do it. It needs to be done. The folks last semester had to do it, and the folks before the semester before they didn't like it either. But you got to do it.
Okay.
So this is one of those directive behaviors. You got to do it. Can't let you off of this one. This is a perfect example of a directive behavior. Go ahead and do it. All right. Next question. All righty. Well, we got through in 37 minutes. We did all right tonight. If there are other questions that you have, if you have questions, more individual questions about OMAE, just email me or call me, let me know. I'll be with you again next week, and we'll try to, as usual, try to keep it brief, and I try to hit the important things that you will run into in real life. That's what these sessions are about, is translating what you learn through your reading into theoretical, into the practical, and then hopefully you can translate them into the doing during your clinical and later on when you're actually in your job. That's kind of the notion here. All right, I will see you all next week. Everybody have a good week. Thank you for joining me.
Mm-hmm.
You're welcome. Have a good one.